Okay, welcome back. This is video number 2. We're going to be talking a little bit more about the financial part, like we talked about in the first video. But as you can see, I have a particularly complicated looking formula. Some of you might have seen this formula before if you've taken the personal finance class, but not going to leave that to chance. We're going to talk about this. And this is how to calculate your payment on a loan. So if it's a car loan or a home mortgage, that kind of thing where you have a principal, P, an annual percentage rate, number of periods, N in 1 year. And I'm not sure if you can see that very well. It's a T right there being multiplied by the N. That is the number of years. So, think about like a car loan being 3 or 4 or 5 or some cases 6 years. Or mortgages usually are 15 or 30 years. That's that T value, okay? And in the example that we looked at previously, we just talked about a year. So our T was really 1. I mean, we could have kept on paying interest on that television for our dorm room. However, we only considered the first year. So that's why you didn't see a T there, okay? So in the first question, it says, what are the inputs? So you want to look at the equation. You want to say, okay, well, I see here that I have a P and I have an APR and I have an N and I have a T. And then, I got some ones, but those are not going to change. Those are constant. So we have 4 inputs in this equation. P, principal, APR, N, and T. All right, so let me ask you a pretty easy question. You can try to answer that in your head. What is the output? When you put all those inputs in, what exactly do you get? Hopefully in your brain, you're thinking, kind of silly, Miss Lucas, you're going to get, sorry, that's my name, Miss Lucas. You're going to get payment. And what that really is going to be the monthly payment. Now, what I've done down here is I've included the answer to the next question, but I want to walk through it because this particular thing looks very ugly. It really does. We've put a lot of parentheses in it because of order of operations. So when you take a formula like this and you translate it to an Excel formula, you really have to be mindful what has to be done first before you can do the next calculation. So if you were to strictly look at the numerator, what they've done is they've taken, let me grab another pen here. They've taken this piece, the APR divided by N, and put that into parentheses. And then they've multiplied with an asterisk that whole thing times P. And then they've put the whole numerator into parentheses. So you have the numerator, and I'm going to move this down just a little bit. I'm going to put NUM here for numerator. That's your numerator. This is right here, obviously a division sign, but that's this division sign. That's your fraction bar. So then when you do the denominator, it's going to look even more complicated because the denominator is more complicated. So I'm just going to label this. So what you have is this set of parentheses ought to tell you something. If there are these parentheses in the denominator right here, then those probably need to be in parentheses when we are putting them into our Excel formula. So here we have this in a set of parentheses. And then we have 1 plus that quotient in another set of parentheses. So see the double parentheses here. And I'm going to show you something that Excel does to try to make it a little simpler for you. Now this negative NT, this is an exponent. Hopefully most of you know that you're going to use the caret for an exponent. And you can see that here. But again, they've put that entire exponent into parentheses. And then the whole denominator, 1 minus all of that stuff, is in parentheses. So it's really important to understand that the parentheses are what are establishing your order of operations in an Excel formula. Not all Excel formulas are going to be this complicated, but this is a great one to use because it applies to what we're doing. And it's just very helpful to get that confidence from building one of these formulas. And I'm not going to leave you out in the dark with it. I'm going to help you with it. Okay. So let's take a look. I'm going to split my screen. Hopefully you have your table 1_2 from either Excel or you have your Google Sheet. So what we're going to do is we're going to construct this formula using cell references in the payment column, in the yellow column. Okay. So what we're going to do is always start with an equal sign. Then we're going to do an open paren. And instead of typing a P, we're going to make that a cell reference. Multiplied by, and see how that's in blue? They're starting to color code things for you. So now we have parentheses APR divided by N. This is a new set of parentheses. Look how it changed colors. It went from black to red. So it helps you with making sure you have done the closed paren at the end. So we'll have APR, we'll use a cell reference, divided by N. We'll click on that cell reference, and then we're going to close that. See how that's red? So it's showing you, and it bolds up a little bit. It's showing you that you have an open and a closed red parentheses. And then we're also going to close that again for the black one. See how it bolded up real quick? And that's our whole numerator. So then we're going to hit the forward slash, or I guess that's a backslash. Excuse me. And we're going to start our denominator. So we have an open paren. We have a 1, a minus, and now we're going to have to introduce another paren. 1 plus, now a third open paren. It's going to be a different color. See how it's purple? Then we'll have APR divided by N, and I'm just clicking on those to get the cell reference. And here, if you pay close attention, we're going to have 2 closing parentheses. Purple, next one should be red. There you go. And now we're going to find that caret. That's going to be shift 6. Another set of parentheses. They started at red again, which is fine. So we're going to do a negative N times, now we're using T finally. We haven't used T all this time. We still need to do 1 closing paren. So we don't have that closing black paren right there. Then we're going to hit the enter button. And there's our monthly payment for a principal of $15,000, where 6% is your APR. You have 12 payments in a year for 5 years. Okay. And maybe you want to go ahead, if you're in Excel, maybe you want to go ahead and save that. I'm going to save that because I always get panicked about losing stuff. So I do that. All right. Now, what this monthly chart is showing you is that we can do a what if. But part of the problem, part of the problem with doing a what if is that there are certain factors here, like the principal, that need to stay the same. The N needs to stay the same. Maybe. Well, no, the N does need to stay the same. The T is what could change. So if we vary, let's say we decide to put more money down, We're not going to change that in this problem. We're going to keep our principal at 15,000. But let's say we go from one bank A to bank B, and we can get a better APR. Or let's say we're willing to pay it off in a shorter amount of time. That's what we're going to look at in this next example. So we're going to adjust the formula that we just created to include the cell references. Okay, so let's do this. Let me show you some. I want to show you some pictures real quick for what we just did. So that's kind of a summary. Sorry, I'm coughing, guys. It's the ragweed. There's all this pollen out there. You can't see it, but it's there. So what we're going to do in row 1, I kind of want to give you a little preview. That 15,000 is going to get an absolute reference because we want that principal to stay the same. Similarly, that N of 12, see that C2, how it has a dollar sign and a dollar sign? That is going to get an absolute reference. But the APR and the T are going to get mixed ones. So if you think about this for just a second, the APR is in rows, correct? So that's rows that have numbers. So we want to fix the column B, but we want to vary the row. So we want a dollar sign with the B. And if you think about the number of years, we want to fix the row. We want to fix row, whatever, row 6. So the dollar sign is going to go in front of the 6, but that means we can fill across the different columns to look at different terms of time. So I put the formula here just as a way of kind of showing you that, but we're going to go back and build it together here. So let's take a try. Let's go back. Okay. And if we have to refer back to that, we can. So here what we're going to do is we're going to hit an equal sign. Now what we could do, just to let you know, we could copy this, but I'm going to write it all again from scratch so that we get some experience with writing it. If we need to go back and refer to it, we can. I probably will have to. It's not P. So there's my principal times APR. Not that one. We don't want that one. We want that one. And we want to fix column B. I think I have a little bit of an issue there with my paren. One sec. Divided by, N is still going to be 12, remember? So we want to do an absolute on that. We're going to put a dollar sign there and a dollar sign there. See how I can edit it here or there? Let's see what it does there for just a sec. Let's compare it. Let's take a moment. So we have the A2 times, and see, they didn't put parentheses in there. And you could make an argument that you don't need them because all we're doing is multiplying and dividing. So that's okay. That's not a problem. If you put too many parentheses in, but they still work, it's okay. Now, hopefully I did this correctly. Not sure if I did. We'll find out. So now I'm going to work on the denominator. So I'll have 1 minus parentheses 1 plus. And then we're going to need another B7, C2 type of situation. Oh, it doesn't like that. See how I'm getting an error message. See, it doesn't like me doing that. Now I can put the reference in. There we go. It requires just a little bit of focus to get all of this typed in. And hopefully we do it right the first time. But if we don't, we can troubleshoot it. And so that is looking pretty good. I think I might need another closing. No, actually, I think I'm good. I can start my exponent. So let's start our exponent. Shift 6. Negative n. We know what n is. That's there. We're going to make that an absolute reference. If I'm driving you crazy because I'm going slow, I apologize, but I like to try to do these one time. You know, I hate to troubleshoot them if I can just take my time and sort of work on that. So let me multiply by t. Now t is going to be this value right here. So remember, we have to make it a reference to lock in the row value. Okay. So put a paren there. That's purple. Put a red paren there. That's red. Put a paren there. That's black. And so that works. Now let's compare that to what they got. Let's take a quick look at their table. Now see, I did something wrong. I did something very strange. So we'll have to go back and take a look at my formula. Let's see here. A2. And I'm glad that I made a mistake, to be quite honest, because I want you guys to see what the troubleshooting process looks like. There we go. Let's make that just a little bit bigger so we can see it. A2, B7, C2. Divided by 1 minus 1 plus 7, C2. Now, if it makes anybody feel any better, I could take these out. It's possible that with the parentheses, that's where I made my mistake. Can't really take it out there. Let's take a look. 1 minus 1 plus $B7. 1 minus 1 plus $B7 divided by absolute C2. And that's in parentheses with red. So let's take a look at that. Just make sure that's what we did. I think I might be missing the red one there. Nope, I found a typo. So I'm gonna, oh, but there we go. It was able to do that. Does that match the same number? Let's see. Let's go to the next slide. Yes, it does. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag that fill handle all the way across. And I'm not going to get correct answers because I did do some. Oh, actually I am, because it is doing the right thing. Yeah, there we go. That's good. And we'll talk about what those numbers mean. But then what I can do is I can highlight all of this row. And notice that I have a little fill handle right here. See how it turns into a plus? Pull it down. And let's try to find this number. Does this number should be in this chart, right? It should be 6%, and it should be right there. Let's highlight that. There we go. So that's the number that we calculated. Now, what this is allowing us to do is it shows us we're going to pay a heck of a lot of money if our term is 1 year. And you can see as we go from left to right that our monthly payments are becoming much more manageable. But of course, you don't want to pay a lot of interest when you buy a car, you buy a house. This is really more of a car loan. This is the Jetta problem, the Volkswagen Jetta problem. But as you see here, that's going to change. And as you go from 1% to 2%, if you want to just think, okay, what if I wanted to pay it off in 3 years? But Bank A is offering 6% and Bank B is offering 5%. You can see exactly what your monthly payment would be. And again, if you had trouble with that, I get it. It's tough. We're going to stop that video right there. And when we come back, we're going to open up a new tab in that same sheet. So whether you're in Google Sheets or whether you're in Microsoft Excel, we want a new tab, and you can rename it Activity 2 or whatever you want to name it, just so that you know we're moving on to a different example. Okay? Thank you very much.